Among the many things that are alarming about our current predicament in America is that so many of us find ourselves on the side of our government's opponents. For those of us who oppose the Vietnam War or the abuses of the war on terror after 9/11, we were on the other side. We weren't rooting for the Viet Cong or Al Qaeda. We were opposing the expansion of the war in Vietnam and the abuses that include torture in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But now we're actually cheering against our own country. We're not the good guys who have taken a wrong turn. We're the bad guys. For instance, with regard to the so-called double tap killing of the survivors of a drug boat attack, a group of former military attorneys who have scrutinized the Trump administration's military activities in Latin America have released an assessment outlining relevant international and domestic laws, and they have said that regardless of whether the U.S. is in an armed conflict conducting law enforcement or other military operations, the targeting of defenseless people is prohibited. Under the circumstances, they concluded that not only does international law prohibit targeting these survivors, but it also requires the attacking force to protect, rescue, and if applicable, treat them as prisoners of war. Violations of these obligations are war crimes, murder, or both. There are no other options. Those are their words. The Joint Special Operations Command, or JSOC, offered the absurd explanation that the purpose of this double tap was to sink the boat to avoid any navigational hazards to other vessels. Come on. Why do you insult our intelligence like that? We all know that's bullshit. If that was really your intent, why don't you just double tap all the boats you destroy with your missiles, or triple tap? What they are really trying to do is avoid having to answer the real question. Aside from any humanitarian concerns, if you really think these boats are full of drug traffickers, why wouldn't you want to capture two of them, the two that were left there who got double tapped, to interrogate and parade them before cameras as an example of the war you dreamed up? For the life of me, I cannot understand why the media hasn't focused on that question. If Pistol Pete and Dagger Don were really serious, they'd consider capturing some of these traffickers for propaganda purposes, right? I believe the answer to that question is that they know exactly what they're doing, and dead men tell no tales. Trump wants to start a war with Venezuela. He knows that in the early days of most wars, the voting public's sense of patriotism kicks in, and they go with the home team when they go to the polls. Someone described Trump as an old man in a hurry. I like that, as an old man who's not in a hurry. He knows that he's got to work fast to capture the spoils that come with his version of the presidency, because he knows if the Democrats win, he'll be spending the last 2 years having to answer for the crimes he's committed during his first 2 years. So I would guess that as we get closer to the midterms, there'll be more human sacrifices in support of Trump's outlaw regime. So we have to keep fighting these gangsters if we want to make America a democracy again. And by the way, that's what our 99-cent project is all about. I'd appreciate it if you'd join us to help protect our most precious right, the right to vote in a free and fair election, and to stop in his tracks this old man in a hurry. Onward.